I really want to tell. Yeah. What? The music? Are you playing it?
Are you sure?
And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Tuesday, November 22nd. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. We got a four-gamer. It is very easy to take in, but every single one of these games has like a quirk or a bunch of dudes out. So there's a lot going on for just a four-game slate. It took me a while to break down on the Process Show, which you can catch 6:30 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Now, let's just get it started. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how did your NBA night go yesterday?
It was pretty good. Jordan Poole not playing the fourth quarter was pretty annoying. Had like 30 fantasy points through three, and then Golden State couldn't keep it remotely close. Had him everywhere, but got third on the night slate, which was nice. It was also like 10% of first, which wasn't nice, but yeah, it was good. Made money, can't complain.
Did you want Jordan Poole to participate in any other ways in the game other than scoring? Because I did see that he had no rebounds and no assists, which is a hell of a game
right now. But yeah, 26 points, 1 block, 1 steal, 4 turnovers.
Yeah, no rebounds, no assists. So kudos to you there, Jordan Poole, for really getting involved in the nitty gritty parts of the game. It's incredible that he blocked a shot. That's the weirder part of it all. I figured the steal happened
like
accidentally.
Right too.
Oh, really? Just not the type of guy that's going to block a lot of shots.
No.
He could be a good shot blocker. I have no idea, but like the opportunities are just not going to be there. We've got a hell of a slate.
Especially in a game where you're not getting any rebounds. You're obviously not putting in a lot of work near the basket.
No, you're not. Not at all. It's a fun slate. I'm excited to break it down. It starts off exceptionally. It closes annoyingly. It should be a really good time. So make sure you guys are hitting that like button. We got a lot to talk about. And don't worry, Adam and I will be back again at 5:30 tonight to break this one down again for the deeper dive. Reminder, everybody, 7:30 tip-off tonight. So everything is a half hour later than it normally is. You ready to get started? I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I'm probably more excited for this game than Ben Simmons is.
The Brooklyn Nets are 7.5-point favorites in Philadelphia. 217.5 total. Yes, this team is in Philly, which means Ben Simmons is on his way to Philadelphia. Can't wait to see this injury report. He's going to show up questionable something in a couple hours. I can see it coming. But with regards to the injury report, Nick Claxton off of it. TJ Warren obviously still out. Let's start with the dynamic let's just start with Ben Simmons. He either smashes here or like crawls into a hole and dies, right? Like there's no middle ground for Ben Simmons.
Did you see his interview where he was asked about it?
No.
Or his presser? He like answered it better than I expected him to. Like he didn't say anything crazy, but I don't remember exactly how they worded it. I think it was something along the lines of like, going back to Philly, do you think that, what do you expect it to be like? Do you think enough time has passed that it's like not gonna be a big deal or whatever? He's like, you're talking about the Philly fans? No, I don't think enough time has passed.
They'll boo him forever.
Yeah. He's like, no, I don't think they've forgotten anything.
No.
So, but like he kind of like laughed it off. It gave me the impression that I'd actually be surprised if, he does show up on the injury report today.
Yeah.
I legitimately thought he would otherwise.
Yeah. It should be interesting. But, well, the one interesting piece of Brooklyn is that I think the entire team looks like ass today, even on a four-gamer. But let's talk about the dynamic between Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton at this point in time, because Ben Simmons has just become a center for the Brooklyn Nets. No ambiguity, really. He will play alongside of Nick Claxton, but they are pretty much straight backups for each other. Doesn't appear that they're really trying to get anybody else involved in that. How do you want to manage the minutes with Simmons and Claxton?
I think the Portland game that we got 2 games ago, because obviously Claxton didn't play last game, but that Portland game where Claxton started, he played 25 and a half minutes. Simmons played 32 off the bench. Simmons fouled out, so Claxton was technically in the closing lineup, but it was going to be Simmons closing. I think that's a pretty decent blueprint. Like, I don't feel totally comfortable going to 32 minutes on Simmons, but I do think it's likely that you see him play more minutes than Claxton. They are playing alongside each other now a bit, like you said. But Ben Simmons just basically a week ago decided he was ready to play basketball again, and he's actually doing productive things, looking good on the floor. He's being what the Nets need him to be. And as long as that happens, he should be able to take these minutes from Nick Claxton.
So I went 30 to Simmons. I have 24 for Claxton right now. Feel like I might need to go to 26 there. He's the guy that I don't feel great about because he's just as likely to be at 32 as he is to be at 19. And he's the guy that I don't really know how to peg down. I also don't know how much it's going to totally matter for today, but what do you see? Because I think Simmons in that 28 to 30 range is pretty much just where you have to be with Claxton back. What do you want to do with Claxton's minutes?
5,400, I think he's still reasonable. Also, no Joel Embiid. Not that I care too much about individual matchups, but certainly makes life easier for both Simmons and Claxton. Lowers, foul risk as well. So I'm still expecting, mid-20s in minutes from Claxton. You're talking about a fantasy point per minute guy. 5,400 is just a really fair price tag. I've almost been disappointed at how cheap Claxton's been recently because I saw this Ben Simmons thing coming where Claxton loses minutes, but Claxton's just remained a good play because he's so cheap. I was hoping we get a slate, where it was everybody's way over projecting Claxton at 6,400, but you can project him correctly at 5,400 and he's still going to look good.
You know what doesn't look good?
Anything else?
Yeah, this entire team looks awful. I don't know how you go to Durant with any real confidence in this spot now that Kyrie is back. Do we want to talk about... let's talk about Kyrie's minutes first. He played 26 minutes on Sunday. How high are you willing to go to a Kyrie minutes projection here? I went to 34. I didn't want to go back to that 36, 37 range that we saw, but I assume 26 isn't he's not long for that.
Yeah, I think 34 is pretty reasonable. It's giving you, a spot where he could play 30 to 32 minutes, but he also could play 37, 38. He was playing huge minutes earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And obviously he missed some time, but it's not like the dude just
he wasn't hurt.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't hurt. I doubt that he was just, sitting in a bar drinking and eating nachos for 2 weeks. He's probably still in pretty good shape. I don't expect it to take very long for him to ramp back up. So I think 34 is pretty fair. Kind of just puts you in that range where it's maybe I'm a couple minutes high, but I also could be a couple minutes low.
Can you see yourself getting to Durant today? Other than
Durant's
just really randoms?
Yeah. I think Durant's really difficult to get to at that price. I think I'd be more likely to get to Kyrie. 9,400 is just not that tough to get to. 11-2, that's the correct Kevin Durant price if Kyrie's not playing.
Yeah. By the way, Kyrie, 8,800 on FanDuel, much more appealing there too. So very easy to get to and has the shooting guard eligibility. Only pulling 17% ownership, which is interesting. 221 total possessions this season with Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton on the floor together. How do you think the Nets have been?
Terrible.
-16, which is a third percentile plus minus. They are 6th percentile in offense and 7th percentile in defense. So none of it's working. They can't score. They can't stop people from scoring. I don't know how long they are going to be allowing those two guys to play alongside of each other. Something to pay attention to as we move forward. I think it probably continues to happen now, but if that sort of ass beating that they're taking with them together continues, we're going to get to a point where we don't see them on the floor together.
Sooner than later, Simmons is just going to be the starter and Claxton's going to be the backup, right?
I don't know. I think there's a scenario where you could want Simmons on the second unit, running the second unit like a pseudo point guard if Kyrie's not.
And then just in the closing lineup regardless. Also prevents him from getting banged up by the starting center right out of the gate.
Yeah, he's not the one that's tasked with having to deal with Yusuf Nurkic on a random night or something like that.
The problem is that, in that Kings game, we saw it, you have Sabonis and then they start Claxton and then it's just all right, well, we have to take Claxton out because he's not strong enough to handle this.
I could see it being matchup dependent too for these guys, but it feels like this will be because they don't have second unit anything.
Right.
That's not the kind of shit that they have on just lurking around. Guys that can get their own shot or create a shot for others. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it continue like that and where he just settles in that 30-minute a game range. But I don't know how long they're going to be playing. You would think a team that has Ben Simmons and Seth Curry on the second unit would be really deep, but they are not. No, they are not. Speaking of the rest of this team, Ben Simmons, 21% owned on DraftKings at 6,300, 13% owned on FanDuel at 7,800. I appreciate them making it really difficult for me to get to Ben Simmons because I don't need 7,800 in my life. What do you want to do with him at 6,300? He is the most owned net on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks good. 21 or 22% ownership seems, I don't know, maybe a little bit aggressive, just given that there is obviously some risk whenever you're going to a guy coming off the bench. We can expect Simmons to play around 30 minutes, but you're always going to feel more confident in playing time with starters. I always am going to feel better about rostering starters than bench guys when they're popular. So a little concerning about the price, but also, it is only a 4-game slate. We do have him with a 24% chance of being optimal. So we don't have him projected to be over-owned even. So I assume I'll get there a lot.
Okay. Yeah, the second highest owned guy on Brooklyn is Nick Claxton. You get to around 12% on Durant, 10% to Royce O'Neal. Is there anything you want here for Brooklyn? Like Seth Curry's not all that interesting to me anymore. Joe Harris isn't all that interesting to me. I don't see it here. They look awful.
Yeah, I mean, O'Neal is fine just because he plays so many minutes, but, obviously you're not expecting him to triple-double probably ever again in his career after doing it the other day. Seth Curry is still mildly interesting to me. He's still only 4,300. He's still playing mid to upper 20s. He's interesting just because it's a 4-game slate. He's not getting any ownership, and he's one of the best shooters on the team. They need him to play well. They want him to play well. Like, I don't know. He's still kind of interesting at that price tag just because he's not getting any ownership.
He just makes me nervous now that everybody's back.
Sure, but I don't think his minutes are really going anywhere.
No, I mean, I don't think he's in danger of suddenly playing 16 or something, but that upside of not having Kyrie around where he could just fall into, and he could still fall into 30 something on the right day, but they've just got another real NBA body around now. And
right. The issue now is you can very easily, and pretty frequently you will, get a closing lineup of Kyrie, Harris, Durant, O'Neal, and Simmons that doesn't include Curry. There are plenty of times you're going to get Curry in there in place of Joe Harris or possibly in place of Royce O'Neal, but it's just a lot more likely when Kyrie was out because it's not going to be Edmund Sumner. It's just going to be Curry. So it's more difficult for him to get up to 30 minutes now.
Yeah, I gave him 25. I don't know how great I feel about that, but he's 4,700 on FanDuel. It's going to take a very specific day just for Seth Curry to pay something like that off either way. It's one of those days where he makes 7 threes or something. So same as the Joe Harris day. Joe Harris, 0.66 FanDuel points per minute over the past 30 days. Absolute ass.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Anything else for the Nets?
No.
But, the Nets, a little turmoil. Kyrie's back. Nick Claxton's back. We had to talk about Ben Simmons and how his return to Philly is going to be. But this is not the normal Philadelphia 76ers. No James Harden. No Tyrese Maxey. No Joel Embiid. We do have Tobias Harris back. He is probable. Thibault off the injury report. Korkmaz off the injury report. Let's start with a discussion on what we think the starting lineup for Philly is going to be. My assumption, Melton, Milton, Harris, Tucker, Daniel House.
Yeah. You said that weird and it threw me off.
I think that PJ Tucker will start at center. That's probably the easiest way to just say this. Yeah. Okay. I guess there's a possibility that it's Montrezl Harrell.
That would be my
I don't know.
So I think it's...
Those are the only two.
I'm on the same page as you. The third option is that they throw Thibault in there. That's what they were doing earlier in the year. But he's pretty clearly been behind House recently. So that's why I assume it's House. But
he played 5 minutes on Saturday.
Right, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's House if they go that route. But that's the other option. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they go with Tucker at center. It's not like they're... One, Harrell's not big anyway. And two, they're not going up against the big front court anyway. But yeah, Harrell, they have done that. And they could do that here also.
And then the real interesting thing to me from the Saturday rotation is that Paul Reed is a 4. He had nothing to do with Joel Embiid. He was backing up at a different position. He played fully alongside of Montrezl Harrell at one point in time during the game, which is interesting to see. Let's break down the starters because we have all of the minutes and all of the usage to go around for this team. DeAnthony Melton, Shake Milton, and Tobias Harris are all 30-ish to 40-ish% owned, depending on which site you're looking at. Melton is 30 on DK, 40 on FanDuel. Milton is 40 on DK, 30 on FanDuel. Have fun flipping those numbers around with the exact same names, basically. Change your vowels out. A little over 20 for Harris. And on both sites, he's sort of the same thing at both spots. Those three guys, to me, especially on DraftKings, you can just sort of get to it, and they look great. Good to great.
Which So you said Milton,
Milton, Harris, like those are
Yeah.
just the guys now for Philly.
Yeah, agreed. The price tags have come up a bit. I mean, D'Anthony Melton's up to 7,500. Harris is at 78. Milton is at 53. So you are paying actual salaries for them now. But since the start of last year, with no Maxey, no Embiid, no Harden on the floor, Milton's played 443 minutes. He's averaged a fantasy point per minute. Harris has played 227 minutes. He's averaged 1.25 DraftKings points per minute. D'Anthony Melton has only played 19 minutes without any of them. He does have a 29% usage rate and a 38.5% assist percentage. He's averaged 1.4 DraftKings points per minute. Obviously, you can expect that to come down at least a little bit, but they're all going to have the ball in their hands plenty and have a lot of opportunities to score here.
Yes, they are. It's just looking real good for those three guys. I don't have too much to say about any of them. Like Tobias Harris is 8,500 on FanDuel. I was like, oh, that might be too high of a price tag, but 23% owned, and I still am happy to get to it. 7,800 on DraftKings makes it easier. The rest of this team, however, I mean, we got to start with the ownership that we have to Paul Reed. That's just not correct, right?
We clearly just have Paul Reed projected to start, I think.
Yeah. 3,700 on DraftKings. Like Paul Reed is mild. It's a 4-game slate. Paul Reed is viable today by default with that price tag. He's 5K on FanDuel. He's not viable unless he starts. I don't think that he's starting. I don't think that the chance of him starting is all that high either.
No, yeah, I mean, and looking at our projections right now, we have Reed playing 21.5 minutes. We have Harrell playing 14. If Reed plays 22 minutes, he should be one of the highest owned guys on the slate. I don't think he's playing 22 minutes. I don't think he's playing more minutes than Harrell. Or I should say, he could play more minutes than, if they both come off the bench, Reed could play more minutes than Harrell. He did last game, certainly can again today. But I don't know that he's getting 22 minutes off the bench. Like,
well, let's talk it through. PJ Tucker is going to play 32 minutes as the center today, right? Something like that.
That's what I would expect.
My assumption then is that Harrell is essentially his backup, and that Paul Reed is the 4 for this team today.
I mean, that's pretty much what they did last game.
Yeah.
Last game, though, was also against Minnesota.
True. That's true. But
like, that's a much different matchup than Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant at the 4.
It is. Or, I mean, it's always going to be, it's a lot of Durant plus 1 of Claxton or Simmons too, though. So that is a relatively big, like Paul Reed can handle I guess, that to a degree.
Yeah, Durant, Towns, I mean, like Durant's more wingy than Towns, though.
Yeah. I bet Minnesota would like him to be a little bit more wingy.
Yeah.
So I went 16 Harrell, 16 Reed. Does that sound crazy to you? I don't have a great feel for it, obviously.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that makes sense.
I went 24 to Niang. I think he's live to play like a bunch of extra minutes. I just don't know how they really want to shake that out, how much they want to drop Tobias Harris down to the 3 in this case, how much they hate Thibault.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just if neither of Harrell or Reed starts at center, like if they go with the lineup that you and I were talking about, I'm really hesitant to get to much Reed or Harrell just because they have wings on this team still. They still have Niang. They still have Thibault. I don't know that against the Nets, they're going to be wanting to run a lot of Paul Reed next to Montrezl Harrell. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they start with that smaller lineup. It wouldn't surprise me if you basically get 16, 20 minutes total from Reed Harrell, and you're just getting more minutes for those wings. Like, that's another way that could easily go.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page here. This is going to get...
And Korkmaz is probable, too.
Yeah. Now, they don't seem to give a single shit about him, but that's just another guy that has played real NBA minutes for the team.
I'm just like, they still have a lot of... If they just want to run a, guards and wings rotation, basically, they can do it the entire game. Like, they are not going to get to a point where they have to give Paul Reed or Montrezl Harrell a lot of minutes.
I think it's a really tricky thing until we find out the starting lineup. Luckily, this is a 7:30 start, so we're going to know what's what here. Assuming we're right with a PJ Tucker start, I'd be very surprised if I got to... I mean, on FanDuel, Harrell's 5,300 and Reed is 5K. If those guys don't start, I won't have a single share of either one of them. It's just not going to shake that way. But on DK, $3,700 Paul Reed is just weird.
Yeah, like it's truly a spot where if he's he could be anything from like a DNP to the best tournament value, like on the slate.
Yeah.
Just depending on how this rotation goes. And
those aren't extreme. That's like, you're not trying to sensationalize it or anything like that. He could play 0 to 30 today.
Right. Yeah, he could play a lot, and he's a good point per minute guy is the thing. He also, if they go small, just could barely play. Like if they just decide not to play Reed at the 4, you're talking about potentially 16 minutes total for him and Harrell behind Tucker.
Yeah.
Obviously they can, play Tucker at the 4, and like even if Tucker starts at the 5, you can get some, minutes where Harrell or Reed are on the floor alongside Tucker. But to me, the starting lineup's going to tell a lot, just because it's going to signal how they want to match up. If they're coming into this game saying we want to match up with Montrezl Harrell and Paul Reed, they're not going to start PJ Tucker at the 5 because they're just putting off what they want to do. They're going to just start one of the centers. If they come in saying we want to play these, 5 guard/wing lineups, they're going to just start Tucker at the 5. And if they do that, you should be leaning towards they are inclined to run rotations where they're subbing in more wings as opposed to more bigs.
On the off chance that Montrezl Harrell is, would you assume that Harrell is the more likely starter over Reed, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's say Montrezl Harrell is named the starter and that it's Melton, Milton, Harris, Tucker, Harrell. Do you like Harrell at 4,500 there? How many minutes are you going? 22, 24?
Yeah, I needed to look. I don't remember what he played last time he started.
29.
Yeah, I'll say I thought he got actual minutes. But yeah, if one of them starts at center, then to me that signals that they are playing a center for a lot of this game. I don't expect, if they start Harrell at center, I don't expect the rotation to be like PJ Tucker subs in as the backup center and then you get more minutes for, House and Korkmaz and Niang or whatever. Yeah. I expect it to be like Harrell and Reed are playing close to 48 minutes combined.
And if Reed somehow starts at center, I think he's going to be a lot more than 26% owned.
Yeah, agreed.
I kind of like PJ Tucker on DraftKings at no ownership.
Enjoy.
4,100 power forward center, 1.7% right now. Even if the assumption here is that Paul Reed is starting, I mean, it's still PJ Tucker out there for 30 minutes or more.
Yeah, no, he's fine. He's just
on a 4-gamer.
PJ Tucker.
0.44 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. Really just racking it up.
Yeah. Dude is awful from a fantasy standpoint.
He is. Do you want anything else here? House, Niang, like wild cards for sure.
Yeah, I mean, House is up to 4,300, so pretty tough to get excited about that one. Obviously, if he starts, he looks better. Niang at 4,600, I think, pretty much correctly priced as well. If you want to, in large field tournaments, use him at 4% and just hope that he gets hot and takes some of those minutes. Like, that's the thing is, especially if they're somehow playing from behind. I mean, they are, I think, 8-point favorites on the road. Or no, sorry, they're 8-point dogs at home, so they are likely to be playing from behind. Like, you could easily down the stretch see, Niang taking those House minutes because he's a better scorer.
Yeah. And Niang played 32 minutes and 30 minutes over the past 2 games. That was obviously without Tobias Harris. That's a large part of that. But if they need the offense, that is a direction they can go. It's a wild game. It's like, I'm excited to talk about it at the deeper dive too. This is the one that we had to dig into the most because the Sixers are a mess right now.
Agreed.
Anything else here?
No.
Pretty easy for you. Schedule for the rest of the day. First, hit that like button. We're at 390 people, 61 likes. So let's run that like number up a bit. 11 a.m. NFL strategy show. So that's coming up immediately after this one. We've got the deeper dive that Adam and I will be back for at 5:30. And then you get NBA live before lock, 6:30 to 7:30. Should be a good time. Good NBA content coming for you guys. Jeremy Savage is going to fade all of the Sixers. So if you're curious who you should not listen to in chat, he made it abundantly clear quite quickly for you.
I don't even know how you would make a lineup like that.
Neither do I. Like, the idea of not getting to one of Melton, or Harris today, just because is that is a take. Just throwing math clean in the garbage. Don't need it. Splat. Sacramento Kings are in a coin flip matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. 232 total. Sacramento is easy to talk about. Everybody that's normally in is in. They've got basically the cleanest rotation in the world. Terrence Davis won a slate a couple days ago. He's essentially out of the rotation now.
Yeah. Then he lost the slate the next day when he started and played like 15 minutes.
Roster any one of the starters that you want. I think that's fine. Do you have priorities from Sacramento?
whatever you get to. I mean, De'Aaron Fox we know is really good. Sabonis really good. They're also getting expensive. We're up to 9,600 on Fox on DraftKings, 9,500 for Sabonis. Kevin Huerter's gotten priced up. DraftKings is sharp on the pricing these days, and I enjoy it. I know it's something that's been like pretty heavily debated whether like it's actually good for good players to have sharper pricing. I still think it is. I don't buy
I agree.
Let
the other people make the mistakes.
Right. Yeah. Like, I understand that like sharp pricing forces people onto the best plays, but I also would rather not. Like, I would prefer my edge come from being better than everybody at finding the mispriced guys than, oh, I'm going to get this coin flip right more than you are between 3 different guys that are $1,000 too cheap. Like,
I would prefer the sharp pricing as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it kind of just creates a situation where Sabonis, Huerter, Fox, they all look fine. Barnes looks fine, but none of them really stand out as priorities. I think that they're all pretty much correctly priced. Keegan Murray at 4,400 is somewhat interesting. Like, he's obviously been garbage this year from a fantasy standpoint, but he does play.
Think about the chalk bullshit from the beginning of the year on him and how ass he has been so far.
Yeah, that one definitely was just everybody was out of their minds on that.
Everybody?
Except you and me.
Yeah,
particularly you.
We know where the smarts are in this industry.
Yeah. Where did they not submit an injury report? They
should have.
Yeah, they didn't.
Is it just that no one's on it?
I'll say so. I assume nobody's on it. I was just trying.
They didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, I was just double checking or trying to double check Murray's status, and I'm like, I don't even see it. But yeah, I mean, 4,400 on him actually looks decent here, just given how jacked up the prices are on everybody else.
So they don't have anybody on the injury report, and apparently no one in the G League either. So they just aren't a part of that injury report. Yeah, I don't have anything to say here. I think you can really get to anybody you want. They're all pulling a little bit of ownership, and it's just kind of flat. Like Sacramento, simple to talk about. Less simple to talk about, however, the Memphis Grizzlies, who are likely to be without Ja Morant. He is doubtful. They are definitely without Desmond Bane, who's out for quite a bit longer. Jaren Jackson rested last time out, so we'll be back now. And then still no Zaire Williams. A lot of this looks good. We've got 20+% ownership going to Dylan Brooks at 7,300. He's probably my preferred option, although Tyus Jones at 5,900 also looks great, 30% owned. Jaren Jackson, 30% owned at 6,400. Slightly cheaper price tag than on FanDuel, where he's 8,200. Thanks a lot, FanDuel. FanDuel's pricing is the opposite of sharp today. Adams and Clark both pulling a little love here too. Hard to not like Memphis against Sacramento.
Yeah, look really good, and obviously Morant being out opens up a lot. Jaren Jackson's played 25, 26 minutes in his first couple of games back. I expect that to increase sooner than later. You can never project him for too much more than that just because he fouls so much, but 6,400 still, a very solid price tag for him, especially playing without Morant. Tyus Jones at 5,900 still looks good. He's, a 0.9 to 1 fantasy point per minute guy. Looks good, played 34.5 minutes last game. Dylan Brooks gets a bump in usage. He's 7,300. I mean, it's still scary going there. Like, he's going to get plenty of opportunities without Morant, but you're still talking about an inefficient shooter that isn't going to do a whole lot else. So
he's 8K on FanDuel today, and I'm over the field right now, which is disgusting.
Yeah, it's just kind of scary at 23% ownership, like for a scoring dependent player who is priced up. I like the front court. Steven Adams at 5,400, as long as he can avoid foul trouble, should be out there for 30-ish minutes. If he does get in foul trouble, you have Brandon Clark at 4,400. I don't like that Brandon Clark's getting 15% ownership. Like, I get that he has power forward eligibility, but between the two, I would rather just find the extra 1,000 for the lower owned Steven Adams.
Yeah, I'm with you. I prefer the Adams piece here to Brandon Clark, given the comparable ownership. Let's see. How great. By the way, I don't know how actionable it is, but something to think about. Domantas Sabonis, one of the best big men in the league in drawing fouls, so a little scary.
Nick Claxton, questionable. Yuta Watanabe, questionable. I assume in a second we're going to get Ben Simmons, questionable. But maybe not.
Well, maybe. We're here. Okay, well. Good to know, I guess. Makes Simmons more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's both of their centers, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, for Memphis, it's just sort of like play any one of the starters, play some of them aggressively, like Tyus Jones to a degree, Brooks to a degree. And then, take your pick on which center you prefer. But Memphis looks really good here. Pace up matchup against a bad defense in Sacramento. I like it.
Yeah, I know he got some games last year. I just want to see how Brooks did in games without Morant and with Jackson.
Yeah, get ready. It's a big usage rate. By the way, I want to hit Jorge's super chat. He said, Adam, are you going to enjoy the Mexico soccer match? We all know how much you love it.
Yeah, thrilled. Can't wait.
You going to go out and get some like quesadillas and shit, celebrate?
Yeah.
You might have like a margarita.
I really enjoyed the U.S. game yesterday. Just got a really good nap in.
There you go.
Yeah, 28.6% usage rate for Brooks in 17 games, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute.
What did you say the usage was?
28.6.
Oh, wow. I had it higher than that.
That's in the full games without Morant and with Jackson.
Gotcha. What about Bane?
I hate including Bane because he was just different last year.
But he was still more than Jake LaRavia.
Yeah.
This is why I thought you would get a bigger number. Because when you take Bane off, you're going to see a bigger usage rate for Dillon Brooks.
Without Morant, without Bane. Yeah, so I have 0 games.
Okay. I'll hit you with it quickly. So, including last year, with no Bane and Morant, in games that Jaren Jackson and Dillon Brooks both played, Dillon Brooks played a total of 276 minutes for Dillon Brooks. No Morant on the floor, no Bane on the floor, but Brooks and Jackson were both active. 30.5% usage rate for Brooks with a crisp 50 true shooting. This dude is just letting it go, and he ain't hitting anything.
Yeah, 147 total minutes since the start of last year with Jackson on the floor without Morant or Bane. 32% usage rate, 1.22 DraftKings points per minute, 52% true shooting.
Yeah, I went to a big usage rate number on Jaren Jackson. They seem to dominate the ball with the two of them out there when there's no Morant and no Bane around. So should be a very interesting side for the Memphis one. Do you have anything else you want to talk about for Memphis?
No.
Alrighty, let's talk a little bit about PrizePicks. They are the presenting sponsor of this show. There is a link in the description to this video. Click it, head on over to PrizePicks, make a deposit. They will match that deposit up to $100. So if you put in $25, then they're just going to give you $25. But if you put in $100, they will give you $100. You're picking player props here. You don't need an optimizer. You put together 5 on one card. You'll net up to 10x your entry fee. Taking over-unders. You can do it across multiple sports if you want. NBA, college basketball, soccer, hockey, NFL. Whichever direction you want to go, you can do it. I'm going to hit Adam with a couple points props for today. We talked about Dillon Brooks in this most recent game. Let's talk about his points prop. How do you feel about Dillon Brooks over under 22.5? I have
I like
quite a bit of the over.
Yeah, I like the over.
Yeah. I got 25 right now, so give me all the Dillon Brooks that I can get here. Let's see. We'll go to Sacramento now. How do you feel about Domantas Sabonis, 16.5?
It would be easier if Control F worked. How many? 16.5?
Yes.
Slight over.
Yeah, slight over for me as well. De'Aaron Fox, final one that we'll look at, 25.5. I don't have a take. I got him at 25.6.
We have him at 23.8. So I think I like the under.
Okay. That's PrizePicks, everybody. Again, a link in the description, $100 to you on your first deposit if you deposit $100. The Detroit Pistons, also walking wounded right now and a very weird team. They are going to be without Cade Cunningham for a very long time, which is really a bummer. Beef Stew still out. Sadiq Bey out for a couple more. What's up?
I said, is it?
Is what?
Cunningham being out a bummer. It's certainly been good for my bankroll.
No. I mean, it's a bummer to me in that I just want him to be playing and succeeding.
Yeah, it's not a bummer to me when I'm jamming him in at 30% every slate for him to suck.
Also true. So those three guys are out. Corey Joseph is probable. We sort of know what this starting lineup looks like, but this is a team that's just ultra, ultra weird. As we look through their rotations from their game this past Sunday, it is complicating. It is very awkward. Kevin Knox played a boatload. We got the start for Isaiah Livers. We've got Bojan Bogdanovic, Jaden Ivey, Killian Hayes, and Alec Burks all in the teens of ownership. Bojan 5,800 on FanDuel is around 30% owned. What do you like from the Pistons?
What the hell was this rotation on Sunday?
I have no idea.
It was just like backwards. Like the guys that they were subbing like you would expect them to, but then like you got 27 minutes for Duren, you got 21 for Bagley. Yeah. Livers starts and plays 16 while Knox plays 23 off the bench. I mean, I can't read too much into this. Like, I assume that if they go with the same starting lineup, Livers is playing more than Knox, right?
That would be my assumption, and that is
Especially
what I have in here right
Livers
now.
has clearly been ahead of him in the rotation this year, too.
Let's start here. Bagley-Duren split, because that's at least the one thing that's normal. I don't know why Marvin Bagley started the second quarter or what the plan is there. I don't know if that's going to be something they're doing pretty regularly, but that did happen. I went 26-22 Bagley to Duren.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'd typically been going like 28-20, just doing basically the same Isaiah Stewart-Duren split, but I don't know that that's correct.
3 straight games for Bagley, 22, 22, 21, or 22, 23, 21. Yeah, for sure. Not that I want to, I'm still going to 26, so
right.
It just makes me less likely to go to 28, but I
think that's
I don't know what Marvin Bagley's second quarter, because that's what we're talking about right now. For all intents and purposes, his first quarter rotation was normal-ish. He did pick up a foul. Maybe you want to give him another minute, whatever. His third quarter rotation is normal. His fourth quarter closing rotation is essentially normal. Did come off at the end, but it's directionally, it was him closing. I don't know how long they want him to play that second quarter stint.
Right. So the previous game against the Lakers, Bagley got in very, very early foul trouble. So he subbed out like a minute and 40 seconds in. They brought him back with a minute 46 to go in the first. He played until the 4-minute, 15-second mark of the second. Again, his rotations got messed up by those early fouls. So I don't know if they wanted him to go that far, but I think it's conceivable he lost like 3 minutes off of that second quarter rotation.
That I agree with.
Or potentially more, because I mean, in the Lakers game, he had played an extra 2 minutes at the end of the first. He didn't play that against the Kings, so maybe they were going to have him play like nearly the entire second if he didn't get fouls.
That's the real question. How much do you think he's missing there in the rotation? Obviously, because it's what I have in my sheet right now, I like 26-22 for these guys, but it's not something I feel very comfortable with.
And 3 games ago against the Clippers, Bagley didn't play the start of the second. He lost like 6.5 minutes in the second, but he was playing a normal, start and play 6 minutes, come back in and play the final, 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
6 or 7.
Now, I don't know if that's because of Saddiq Bey still being there at that point. And right. I
will say, so even in that Clippers game where you did get the more normal rotation, it's a lot easier to kind of look and see what minutes he was going to play. And he played 22 and a half. He lost 6.5. So there you were right on that 29-19 split. But again, I think 26, 22, 27, 21, something like that makes sense here, because I think it's likely that it kind of shakes out to where it ends up being the Isaiah Stewart-Duren rotation. But we've seen enough volatility here where shaving a couple minutes off of Bagley and giving him to Duren probably makes sense.
On FanDuel, I don't really care. Bagley's 5,200, Duren's 5,400. I'm definitely not getting to Jalen Duren no matter how I massage those minutes. It's really about how much Bagley I could get. Duren being 4,100 on DraftKings does open him up, but with them both being just center eligible on DraftKings, you kind of just need one of their minutes to be wildly different than whatever you projected. Otherwise, I don't think that either one of them look fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. 4,700 on DraftKings for Bagley, I like. And I mean, so on DraftKings, it's kind of different. Bagley 47, Duren 41. I think they both look solid. from like a median standpoint. And if you do get the game where Bagley plays 28 or 29 or Duran plays 24, 25, either one's going to look good. So I actually think on DraftKings, you're getting that situation when you look at the ownership. Bagley's getting 9%, Duran's getting 6%. You're sort of getting that situation where the field's projected to just like ignore this center position when in reality, one of these guys is likely to end up being very, very good.
Let's also assume that some of this ownership is going to go up for both of these guys when Paul Reed stops getting a quarter of the center eligibility.
Yeah, good point.
Like to me, they're fine. I think Ivy and Hayes are the two guys that stand out the most to me on DK, but I don't think that there's any sort
there's
of
no chance Isaiah Livers is 1%, sub 1% at 3,300, assuming he starts, right?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong, he stinks. He's a 0.68 fantasy point per minute guy. The question becomes, look, like, do I think it's unowned? No, I don't think it's going to be all that high. I don't know how many minutes this dude's playing.
Right, and he's not a very good point per minute guy, but also like pricing on this slate's pretty tight. You know, I don't think playing a $3,300 starting Isaiah Livers is much different than playing a $4,100 PJ Tucker.
I just don't know what they're doing with him. He didn't play at all in the fourth quarter. He was +7 in his rotation on Sunday in 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Got one foul, left the floor then for the rest of the second quarter. I think he's just going to play like, I gave him 22 minutes.
I think that's reasonable. I mean, the issue is if you go low on his minutes, it means you have to give more minutes to Kevin Knox, and that dude sucks also, which might be what the Pistons are looking for. But you know, it's not like you have somebody behind Livers that is any good. And Livers has played a solid bench role this year as far as being firmly in the rotation. So I certainly think he plays more than 16 minutes on average.
I agree with you there. I don't like much else here. Like, I'd be more likely to take a shot on $3,200 Hamidou Diallo right now than what's happening, but I don't like that either. But shooting guard, small forward, at least he's a decent per minute guy. His minutes can go anywhere. I think they're mostly just bench minutes. I don't think he's going to close. They're more likely to go to Burks first, but I don't know. Detroit's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we kind of were just talking about the fringe parts of this rotation. Jaden Ivey is going to look good. Yep. We talked about the centers. Bojan Bogdanovic looks good. He did play 35 minutes last game as well. That was 2 games ago. Or 3 games.
He played 34, so you're not
30,
really wrong.
Still, 34. Yeah, but like, Bojan's obviously going to look good. Killian Hayes at 5Ks, whatever. So, I mean, those guys do look like good plays, but I think there's a lot of potential value from these cheap guys on Detroit. It's just, they're all really risky because I have no idea what the rotation is going to look like.
Anything else for the Pistons?
Nope.
Now we get to talk to some fun stuff. Jamal Murray is doubtful. Nikola Jokic is doubtful. There's no Jeff Green. Bones is in. Aaron Gordon is questionable. I've got him in. If it's an illness, dude's been out for a week. Just come on back now. Ish Smith, questionable. Hopefully that one doesn't matter. I'd rather him just be out. I love everything here, and so does the public. KCP, Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, Bones Highland, Michael Porter Jr., and DeAndre Jordan are 27, 34, 26, 38, 35, and 29% owned. The Denver Nuggets are the best team that you can get to today.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, they're still reasonably priced. They're missing their best scorers. It's really difficult not to want to get here. Highland has been great from a point per minute basis all season long. He played 35 minutes last game, came off the bench, but in both halves played the entire second quarter, played the entire fourth quarter, and then played like the final 5 to 6 minutes of the first and third. I don't think there's any real reason that we don't get a similar rotation. Maybe not quite as much, but similar. He's been a great point per minute guy. He's at 1.19 DraftKings points per minute since last year without Jokic on the floor. So he's going to look really good. Michael Porter Jr. looks fine at 5,800. If Gordon's in at 5,600, he's going to look good. DeAndre Jordan played 34 minutes. That is so much more than I thought he could or would play. He had played, I think, 26 the game before that. But, at 4,500, even if you don't project him for 34 minutes, he's still like a fantasy point per minute guy. He's going to project well. Without Jokic or Murray since the start of last year, Porter's played 163 minutes. It is kind of interesting. He only has a 21.3% usage rate, 0.89 DraftKings points per minute. It seems like that usage rate has to come up a little bit just when you think about who else is on the floor. But also, if Bones Highland's going to play mid-30s, that dude's just going to take a lot of shots when he's out there. But I do think you probably see Porter's production come up at least a bit going forward. Bruce Brown, 0.86 DraftKings points per minute in 163 minutes, but that's on 41.8% true shooting. He has a 23% usage rate and a 30% assist percentage without Jokic or Murray on the floor. I like Bruce Brown a lot. I think that production comes up quite a bit. Aaron Gordon has played 399 minutes without them, 0.92 DraftKings points per minute, 20.8% usage rate. So again, kind of surprising, like seems like that should come up, but at the same time, Bruce Brown's just doing a lot. Bones Highland's doing everything when he's out there.
How many minutes are you willing to project DeAndre Jordan for?
28.
I don't know where the rest of the center minutes go. They played Zeke Naji alongside of him for all of the third quarter, basically.
Yeah, I just have a lot of trouble thinking they're really going to do that consistently. Like,
who's the alternative?
Zeke Naji.
I mean, they didn't even play him as the backup center in the first half before Jeff Green was gone.
Yeah, but
they went to Chanchar.
They did in the game before.
I know. It's just I don't know what they're doing. I just mean, like, I don't have a great feel for whatever Michael Malone is doing here with their center rotation. It's really weird on Sunday.
It was the same matchup, too.
It was really, really weird on Sunday. And that's where I gave Zeke Naji 14 minutes. I don't know what to do with him. And obviously, assuming Aaron Gordon is in, there's
he was in first half foul trouble, too.
Sure. But he didn't sub it. They were willing to go to those two guys alongside each other. Yeah. I don't know what their long-term plans are.
He played behind. He played the backup minutes at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, too.
Yeah. I mean, that by two, do you mean for the first time?
Well, no, because he did it the previous game. He didn't do it in the first half, and then he did it in the second half.
Yeah. I don't know where they're going here. I don't know if they want to throw extra minutes at anybody else. The Aaron Gordon piece is very interesting because if he just happens to be out again, then everybody else starts to look really crazy to fill out the rest of those big man minutes.
Yeah.
They can go Aaron Gordon at the 5 against the Pistons.
Yeah, agreed. I still think Zeke's the backups. I think one reason Jordan played a lot more minutes was Naji. They didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
It's Jeff Green getting hurt in the 5 minutes into the game, and they're just just play as much as you can.
Yeah, but Naji's rotations are still really weird. I think he was going to get those backup center minutes in the first half, in the first quarter. He subs in for Green, but then I think he was going to probably just stay in when Jordan goes out. But he got the fouls.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think it's likely that we get, especially if Gordon's out. I think it's likely. Well, if Gordon's out, we're getting a lot of minutes from Naji, I think. If Gordon's in, I still think it's likely you get 20 minutes from Naji.
Okay. Flat minimum power forward center. I assume you like him a lot then at 20 minutes.
At 8%, yeah.
Okay. I gave DeAndre Jordan 27 minutes. He is 5,700 on FanDuel. So thank you to FanDuel for making this decision so much easier because at 4,500, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Anything else for Denver?
No.
Alrighty then. One game to go. We got about 10 minutes before the NFL strategy show kicks off. Got to let you know about the BetMGM no-brainer offer. Guys, it's World Cup time. Don't listen to Adam. It's awesome. Everyone else in the world likes it except for Adam. So just, let yourself think about that. If you're new to BetMGM and you're in a legal betting state, click the link in the description. Head on over to BetMGM. Make a $10 bet on any one of the World Cup games. When you do that, this is the best part here. As long as someone scores a goal, doesn't even have to be from your team, doesn't even have to be from your opponent's team. As long as there is a goal scored, you get $200 in free bets. So you're just getting $200 in free bets. Take advantage of it, guys. You're not going to be able to start off bankrolls any easier than that. It is a no-brainer for you. Go check it out right now. LeBron James is questionable. That's the only real injury piece of news that we have from the Lakers. They played everybody in their last game, somewhere between 20 and 27 minutes. It's really awful. This team looks incredibly terrible. It's really hard to have a team not get anybody into double digits in ownership on a 4-game slate, and yet here we are with the Lakers having no one look good. There's not a single thing that I want to prioritize for the Lakers on DK or FanDuel. This is the worst team on today's slate, bar none.
Agreed. I mean, if LeBron ends up sitting, obviously it makes Anthony Davis look a lot better. But I mean, this team is getting healthier with more shitty players that just don't make anything easier for DFS. LeBron's up to 10-4, Davis is at 10-5, center only on DraftKings as well. I'm with you. I don't see much of anything that I like here. And again, if LeBron gets ruled out, then stuff starts to look a little bit better.
Yeah.
But still, not a lot that I'm going to like.
Yeah, they don't exactly, because like LeBron doesn't get ruled out and all of a sudden everybody's just, we're jamming in all sorts of value. Like they just become finally somebody looks okay type plays.
Yeah, it is, I think, interesting that Thomas Bryant played 23 minutes last game. I know a lot of it was garbage time, but like physically he played 23 minutes and he's 3,400.
Yeah. Well, you know a lot about Thomas Bryant.
Yeah, not a bad fantasy guy.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of an interesting dart throw to me.
I mean, it's just good to know that he can play 23 minutes.
Right,
like,
that's my thinking.
That's the redeeming quality of that minutes.
Yeah, I'm not projecting him to play 23 minutes, but like if I'm going to gamble on Thomas Bryant, like last game, I think I had him projected for more minutes last game than like anybody else did, and I actually was getting to him a little bit, so I just like scaled him back because I was just like, I threw a random number at him, and I don't even know if he physically can play that right now. So knowing he can play 23 is like, okay, I can project him for like, if I project him for 14, 15, 16, and I get to a little bit, at least I know physically he can do it.
Yeah, I gave him 14. He's there. This is just gross. This team's so bad. They're an embarrassment to the city of
I love
Los
that they
Angeles.
just like added to the rotation instead of removing some of the terrible players.
Oh, Schroeder and Bryant are here. Let's just get everybody out there.
Right.
It's like they're making soup. They're just
Right.
throwing every ingredient they can find.
We could just, not play Kendrick Nunn now, but no, we're gonna go ahead and leave him in there.
They're so atrocious, clean across the board. If LeBron James is in, there's a decent chance that I suddenly don't have a single share of anything from the Lakers.
Do they play 11 guys if LeBron's in? Or does Kendrick Nunn just go away?
They probably dropped. It's probably 10. Someone goes away. Wendy and Gabriel could potentially go away too. I know they like him. I mean,
you could just see Nunn and Gabriel go away, but
yep,
seems a little aggressive for them.
I wish the Lakers would go away.
Yep.
For Phoenix, we are without Chris Paul. We are obviously still without Cam Johnson. Landry Shamet still out. Jay Crowder is missing in action. Starters for the Suns look pretty good. Booker, Bridges, Payne, Ayton, they're all, 15 to 25% owned, depending on which one we're talking about, depending on which site we're talking about. Campaign 6,800 on FanDuel. I think that stands out a lot, but I just really like Booker, Bridges, Payne, Ayton. It's a pace up spot. The Lakers are shitty. Just give me all of these like real NBA players for the Suns.
Yeah, agreed. And Shamet's out again too, which I keep mentioning just because it really does thin out that rotation. Landry Shamet's somebody that can play low to mid 20s minutes and at multiple positions. And so not having him in, you just get more playing time from a lot of these guys. Damian Lee played 23 minutes last game, but that was a game where basically you just had you had the bench basically play the fourth quarter. They went on a run, pretty much put the game out of reach. But in a lot of these games, you're going to get, Bridges up to around 40 minutes. You're going to get Booker at like 37, Ayton playing, low to mid 30s. Those guys all look good. You also can get, 32 minutes or so from Torrey Craig, who isn't an exciting option, but pulling 12% ownership at 4,900, he's going to look fine. So I like all the starters here, at least to some extent.
Yep, we are on the exact same page here. I think Booker for 9,300 on DraftKings today, given what the other pay-up options look like there's no chance you're taking Anthony Davis if LeBron's in or Kevin Durant over Devin Booker today just because of that salary savings. Like we're talking about two different guys, and they aren't like Devin Booker at 9,300 with no Chris Paul is not all that different of a per minute guy than Kevin Durant is with Kyrie Irving on the floor today.
Agreed. Do you know if Jock Landale was out last game?
DNP CD. So I went straight to Bismack Biyombo as the backup.
Because that's interesting if he's going to play all the backup minutes.
Yes. I gave him 17, and at 3,200, he looks a lot better than most of the backup centers we talked about today.
Yeah, I'll say because with this, he's if he's going to get the backup minutes, which again could go back to being some sort of split, but if he's going to get them, he's the Andre Drummond type guy on this slate where Brandon Clark. So like Brandon Clark, 4,400, he does have power forward eligibility, so he's easier to get to. But $4,400 Brandon Clark in essentially the same role as Bismack Biyombo is getting 14% ownership, while Bismack Biyombo gets none at 3,200.
Yeah. Would you be surprised if AD fouled up Ayton and they had to go to more Biyombo? Like, no, not at all. Yeah, they went to Ish Wainwright and Josh Okogie this past time out. So I don't know what the plan is long term there. But yeah, when I saw it, I was like, oh, is Landale just hurt? And I pulled up the box. And, nope, DMP CD. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and they've been Dwayne Washington's been the straight backup to Cameron Payne. I know we had one really good fantasy game from him. But yeah, Okogie had sort of been in the rotation. Wainwright hadn't, if I remember correctly.
Roses says that Reeves and Davis are locks on FanDuel today. That is I have Austin Reeves as the worst play of anybody that's going to play functional minutes. He's 5,400 on FanDuel today. He is legitimately unplayable. What are you talking about? He's not even projected for ownership. It's not even like it's sneaky or like I'm wrong. No one wants him.
Reeves going to have a Donovan. Austin Reeves is not capable of having a Jamal Murray or Donovan Mitchell game.
0.67 FanDuel points per minute for Austin Reeves over the past 30 days. He's capable of having a PJ Tucker game today. What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And look, we're about to get out of here. Adam, do you have anything else for the Suns?
No.
My final thing that I need to say here, FanDuel, I'm begging you, please, for the positions, put them in the correct order. Austin Reeves is not small forward shooting guard. What are we don't read in reverse. Just make them correct. Order them. If point guard and shooting guard are there, it has to be point guard, shooting guard. Please stop showing me guys that are shooting guard, point guard. That's not a distinction. I hate you for this. Tyler says, I wouldn't play Reeves in G League fantasy. He'd probably be really good in that, but I prefer the joke instead. Anything else you want to touch on?
No.
Fun slate, man. I'm excited to break it down again after we get a little bit more injury info. Guys, thank you for being here. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. NFL strategy show coming up next. You'll get Adam's injury report video. You'll get Adam's tournament plays videos later this afternoon, and then we will be back for the deeper dive. Peace, everybody. Thanks, PrizePicks.